Hey, do you remember how I felt that our last encounter was the longest one to date? Guess what? I was wrong, and I believe it was because it was the last thing I remember from the countless hours I spent doing the research and making this. It is true that time can be relative. Even with my own incidents, I was unable to determine how we perceive other people's time. Put it this way: the summer months fly by. Until the cows come home, winter lingers. So, yes, time is a very enigmatic concept. My certified cannabis dealer probably knows more about the distortion of time, but I will not get into that too deep. I only want to say how, in addition to granting prescience or the capacity to look into the future, so called spice also enables space time navigation. When I eat my spiced up chocolate peanut butter cups, I feel that way. I feel like I travel through the time. Oh, yeah. In any case, it's a basic idea. Time is used to quantify, order, and contrast the length of occurrences and the times between them. It enables us to measure the duration of events and comprehend their sequence. Usually, time is expressed in terms of seconds, minutes, hours, days, and years. And according to physics, time is a dimension where things happen in a straight line from the past to the present to the future. It is essential for describing motion, change, and the progression of the universe. In Greek mythology and pre-Socratic philosophy, Kronos is the personification of time. He is frequently shown as an incorporeal serpentine entity with three heads: a man, a bull, and a lion, signifying the all-pervading, multidimensional, and relentless character of time. His relationship with the cyclical passage of time is further reinforced by the fact that he is occasionally depicted in Greco-Roman art as an elderly man spinning the zodiac wheel. Well, I also have to mention in many global religions and philosophies, particularly in Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism, the wheel of time is a deeply ingrained idea that symbolizes the cyclical nature of time. Ages and events repeat eternally in a vast cosmic cycle. Other civilizations share this concept as well, including Native American customs and the Bakongo people of Central Africa. But speaking of Kronos himself, it is important to say that Kronos is a primordial deity in the Orphic faith who surrounded the primordial world egg with his companion Ananke, who is the embodiment of inevitability. So yes, I came to see how simple it is to remember the worth of money. I won't delve into politics, economics, basic and guaranteed income, and other such topics because it is absurd that in Canada you are considered lucky if you earn more than $25 per hour. And this has nothing to do with how good or how horrible Canada is, how much money you make, or what kind of work you perform. But the sort of work that's important, given how you view time passing. Hard effort and standing around for hours tend to drag time, as I'm well aware. Of course, there is a middle ground where we are enough engaged to avoid thinking about a time, but not so much that we constantly check our phones or wristwatches. How much does it tell us about our freedom then if you work for $25 an hour and pay roughly $1,200 for your small rental apartment? After all, spending time outside of our workplace is what freedom is all about, isn't it? And this has nothing to do with the amount we spend, but rather with the amount of time we sacrifice in order to have a safe haven. In this instance, 48 hours is equal to 6 days by 8 hours a day of work just so we have somewhere to sleep. You only understand how little time we have for ourselves when you consider everything else. Therefore, Time markers, rather than prices, should be shown in the stores. And here we are once more. One of my most enduring obsessions is about to begin. Time. 4 days of work for your root canal. 3 hours for your jeans. 3 hours for your gym membership. 12 minutes for Starschmuck, Super Missy, Mochino, whatever heck you're drinking. 2 hours for pedicure. An hour for a six-pack. 2 weeks for your e-bike. A shift or two for new runners. A week or two for your holidays in the sun. A year or two for your vehicle, and so on. This world is not about money. It's about time. It's about time we are willing to sacrifice to buy things, and mostly to buy free time. So we are pretty much giving time so we can have, hopefully, good time. And good time doesn't mean Bugatti Veyron in your garage. It's a way more simple than that. It means not to worry. Also, an episode as long and analytical as this one is anything in between 15 to even 20 hours worth, including editing and recording. Roughly speaking, I cannot guarantee 100%, but that's just my estimations. Yeah, so seems a lot, and you know what it is, especially when you're putting your heart and your soul in it. It would take 2 days of work to feed us for a month if this quest was only about food, but it isn't. In addition, we developed the idea of time, which we are currently purchasing and selling. Then they claim that cryptocurrency is fake, that the basis of it is in the air. Yes, exactly. Gold is real, then isn't it? Or is it simply because we are following economic principles most of us agree upon? Perhaps we should have more time. Perhaps we should alter the regulations. You can accomplish it without becoming a magician. Simply put, quit trading your time for cash. Have courage. Become an entrepreneur. Take use of your time now as if it was your last. In literature, time frequently reflects cultural and philosophical conceptions of history and advancement. In order to attack ideologies like capitalism or linear development, some writers reject the notion that time is a constant, inevitable progression, like, what they say, beads on a rosary, and instead portrayed as a fragmented, cyclical, or open-ended. In my early reading days, Ballard's short story Memories of the Space Age marked a major turning point for me. Its recurring themes include the notion that, quotation mark, space sickness alters time perception, the visual of dead astronauts orbiting Earth, and the theory that space exploration might be a reflection of human neurosis rather than a healthy desire to explore. The story's overall gloomy tone is a natural outcome of what we usually associate with the past: melancholy. Often referred to as the character versus ticking clock conflict, time as a conflict in literature and other contexts usually manifests as a direct fight between a character and the limitations or pressures imposed by time. In Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, Robert Langdon has to uncover the Holy Grail before his enemies do. There is a physical ticking clock in Cinderella as well, since the main character has to leave the ball before midnight, when the magical charm ends. Time pressure is also increased in Michael Crichton's timeline, as characters have a certain amount of hours to save a trap professor. I'm keep thinking about Sutherland Jr. and 24 and how ridiculous it was. Never mind. Okay, let's go back. In literature, time is examined in a variety of intricate ways that frequently go against traditional linear ideas of chronology. It functions not only as a background, but also as a structural and a thematic component that influences the telling and experiencing of stories. The past, present, and future coexist or overlap in many literary works which treat time as nonlinear, fluid, or polytemporal. By avoiding conventional chronologically ordered plot progressions, this method enables stories to examine memory, history, and experiences intertwined and alive in the present. Another key idea is the specialization of time, which depicts time less as a line to be followed and more as a space where events coexist. The works of Proust, Woolf, and Joyce are examples of modernist and postmodernist literature where several timelines, memories, and views converge at the same moment. Through literary devices like parallel timelines, flashbacks, and nonlinear narrative structures, time is also employed. In order to enhance character development, create tension, or draw attention to thematic issues like memory loss or the passing of time, these techniques alter the reader's experience of time. And as demonstrated by works like Boccaccio's The Decameron, which frames stories within the setting of the Black Death, highlighting the urgency and fragility of life, classic literature frequently uses time to reflect historical events and human mortality. The following are important facets of time as a literary theme: non-linear and fractured time. A lot of postmodernists and modernists depicts time as non-linear, which reflects how subjective experience and memory are fractured. This method emphasizes concepts like nostalgia, disorientation, and the cyclical character of history. The past and present are blurred in Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse and James Joyce's Ulysses, for instance, drawing readers into the minds of their protagonists. Also, literature frequently depicts time as ephemeral and subjective, influenced by scientific concepts such as Einstein's relativity. In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust examines how memory distorts temporal perception, making the past seem eerily present. By presenting time as a resource, Mike Ends Momo challenges society's fixation with productivity. And some stories emphasize fate and recurrent themes by portraying time as cyclical rather than linear, which is demonstrated by Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude, which again interweaves themes of reoccurrence and unavoidable history. The passing of time brings with it themes of regret, aging, loss, and impermanence. The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro highlights its emotional resonance by reflecting on the nature of time and unrealized goals. The theme of time frequently addresses more general issues regarding life, death, and the human need to transcend or accept temporality. By offering alternate temporalities such as the eternal present or asynchronous time, literary works can subvert Western linear conception of progress in order to embody the concept of time and manipulate readers' perception of the story's temporal flow. Authors employ techniques such as flashbacks, parallel timelines, and non-linear narratives, as I have said. But beyond literature, the concept of time as conflict appears in real-life scenarios where deadlines, aging, or limited time resources create pressure and force urgent decisions. Time conflict can also be seen as a subset or variant of broader conflict types such as person versus fate, where characters struggle against predetermined destinies that unfold over time. Then person versus nature or society, where time constraints highlight survival or social struggles. And how it goes? Well, this is how it goes. Also, why do we spend so much time out of ourselves? Our thoughts are either with the events and people behind us, or we cannot see it yet. Time we spend recklessly, time we do for others hopelessly. You know how I always say time flies, but also time will tell. So it did. It was only after this many episodes that I believe I'm on the right way of finding not only the right content for you, but also the voice, the approach, the method, and all that jazz. I might not be even close to it, but I can see the shape of things to come in the future, which doesn't make me clairvoyant, just rather experienced in what I'm doing and what I know the best. Being a journalist working for a national broadcasters or a slave of a private-owned newspaper is one thing, but this is slightly different. When you are close to be what is known as a one-man enterprise, There are many paths and timescales you have to cover on your own. And this is very important in my perspective. When sharing a common goal like publishing newspapers, we effortlessly feel that we are on the same time scale as everybody else in the meeting room. When on our own timeline, on our own self-imposed deadline, it's easier to get lost if not fully focused. So is time just a mass hallucination? Well, the physical concept of time exists apart from human perception. Space-time is a mathematical and physical entity that exists independently of matter and observers according to physics. Time is not produced by mass or perception, rather mass affects the curvature of space-time, gravity, of course. Although photons and other massless particles do not perceive time in the same manner as massive particles, and the explanation is because they move at the speed of light, which causes considerable time dilation. Einstein's theory of special relativity says that time slows down for an item in relation to an outside observer as its speed gets closer to the speed of light. This time, dilation is infinite for a photon traveling at the speed of light, which means that there is no lapse in time for the photon's own so-called perspective between its emission and absorption processes. But this does not mean that time does not exist. Rather, even though some particles lack a genuine time experience, time is a coordinate in a space-time that orders occurrences. Philosophically and scientifically, time is an objective feature of the universe and is not a communal hallucination or illusion that people agree upon, even though our perception of it might be subjective and impacted by cognition or if you're smoking too much. Okay, so our short life serves as an excellent teacher, if you have noticed. I'm pretty sure you did. Unfortunately, it is not possible to put time in a jar. We can't have it. We can't possess it. Additionally, when did you hear someone say, "I'm having fun"? Perhaps only if you're directly asked by the host of a made-up party. However, our experience-based reasoning is frequently imprisoned by a temporal curse, leading us to say things like, "I had a good time," or, more frequently, "we gonna have a good time," in the plural. We all wish for things that are automatically in the future and regret things that are by definition in the past. So why even bother? Philosophers had been debating whether time might be mortal for eons before Albert Einstein. According to Immanuel Kant, the matter was an antimony, something that might be argued either way, leaving one unsure of what position to take. Before Einstein, we had both transit through time and movement through space. Space-time is the singular, cohesive framework that special relativity unifies those theories within, so everything in the cosmos is continuously flowing through both space and time at the same time, making it impossible to move through either one independently. According to University of Portsmouth, time began when the universe did. Whether or not time ends will depend on how and if the universe ends. We think that the universe started out squeezed into an infinitely small space. For some reason we do not yet understand, the universe immediately started to expand, to get bigger and bigger. And this idea or model of the beginning of the universe is called the Big Bang. In 1998, scientists learned that the universe is expanding faster and faster, but we still don't know why this is happening. Perhaps it is related to the energy of the space vacuum. It could be an energy field of a novel kind, or it could be a brand new kind of physics. We refer to this new phenomena as dark energy. We can already utilize dark energy to anticipate many ways that the universe can end, even though we are still trying to define it. The universe will take an endless amount of time to expand to an indefinitely big extent if dark energy is not too strong. Time will never end in this situation because the word infinite denotes never ending. However, if dark energy is excessively powerful, the universe will expand so quickly that everything within it will be torn apart. Even that minuscule atoms that make up everything, they're going to be torn apart. Like the cosmos will not continue to expand in this big rip scenario. Rather, it will grow so quickly that at a certain point in time, it will be eternally big. The final moment will come when the cosmos is infinitely big and all matter has been torn apart. There will be no more universes and time will end. The universe could end in a different way. We refer to this as the Big Crunch. The cosmos will eventually cease growing in this situation and begin to contract once more. All the matter in the cosmos will be huddled together, galaxies will collide, and the universe will get smaller and smaller. Time will come to an end when the cosmos is one more condensed into an incredibly small area. And according to some scientists, a Big Crunch might only mark the midway of the universe's existence rather than its conclusion. This line of thought holds that the cosmos is infinitely big at first, then gets smaller and smaller until it is as little as it can get. When it occurs, the cosmos expands and there is a Big Bang rather than a compressed into the smallest conceivable space in this big bounce scenario. And then it expands for an indefinite amount of time after that. There is no beginning or end to time. The universe only bounces once in some big bounce models. In others, like an accordion that never stops playing, it undergoes an endless number of bounces and continuously expanding and contracting. These situations all demonstrate what is feasible rather than necessarily true. The first is that we have yet to define dark energy. More significantly, our current understanding of the universe's functioning is not guaranteed to be accurate. George Musser is a contributing editor to Scientific American, and he writes about the paradox of time and why it can't stop, but must. That's interesting. Nothing really ends in our experience, he goes. As we pass away, our bodies decompose and their contents return to the ground and atmosphere, facilitating the emergence of new life. In the afterlife, we continue to exist. Will it, however, always be the case? Perhaps there won't be a after at some point in the future. Sadly, current physics indicates that the answer is indeed yes. Time itself might run out. There would be no rehabilitation, no regeneration, and all activity would stop. There would be no more endings when time ran out. Time not only affects what matter does, but also responds to what matter is doing, like drummers and dancers firing one another up into Einstein's general theory of relativity, which gives us our current knowledge of gravity, was an unexpected forerunner of this gory possibility. Prior to that notion, the majority of scientists and philosophers believed that time was a universal drummer, a constant rhythm to which the universe marches, never changing, faltering, or coming to a halt. According to Einstein, the cosmos is more akin to a large-scale polyrhythmic jam session. Time has the ability to rip, slow down, or extend. We experience the rhythmic improvisation of time when we feel the force of gravity. Falling objects gravitate toward locations where time moves more slowly. But when things get out of control, time can burn up in the air like a drummer who is too exuberant and catches fire. Singularities are the times when that occurs. In actuality, the term can be used to describe any time boundary, whether it is the start or the finish. And the most well-known is the Big Bang, which occurred 13.7 billion years ago and marked the beginning of the expansion and creation of our universe and time. Time will come to a standstill if the universe ever stops growing and begins contracting again. This would be similar to the Big Bang in reverse or the Big Crunch. Time doesn't have to run out everywhere. According to relativity, it continues to exist in the cosmos at large despite dying inside black holes. Black holes are even more devastating than you may imagine. Despite their well-earned reputation, they are scary. It's just In addition to being ripped to pieces, if you fell into one, your chronology would come to an end when your remnants struck a singularity in the middle of the hole. No new life would emerge from the ashes. Your molecules would not get recycled. Like a character reaching the last page of a novel, you would not suffer mere death, but existential apocalypse. Well, it took decades for physicists to come out to terms with the fact that death without rebirth was something that relativity theory predicted. They still don't know exactly what to make of it. Perhaps the main motivation behind physicists' efforts to develop a single cohesive theory of physics which could combine quantum mechanics and Einstein's idea to produce a quantum explanation of gravity's singularities. They do this in part in the hopes of providing an explanation for singularities. However, you must exercise caution when making wishes. It's difficult to picture time ending. Yes, it's also possible that time not ending is paradoxical. So, I really have to thank Anton Petrov once more for being a wonderful person and a great resource for information on the world of new scientific discoveries. I was working with audio equipment for a Korean K-pop band last night, and it was weird because I couldn't help but think about South Korea and the people and things I knew there. Because from what I understand, Anton is a math teacher in Korea. Nonetheless, please tell me if I'm wrong. In any case, Anton's fresh content about the new model of time was incredibly motivating. So, what's new? What is that is new? Okay, so Raphael Bousseau's studies of cosmology, quantum gravity, and the holographic principle are closely related to his work on a novel model of time. Bousseau is a well-known theoretical physicist who made contributions to cosmology and quantum gravity. He has worked at Stanford University and the University of California, Berkeley, and earned his PhD at Cambridge University. His contributions offer a fresh framework for comprehending how time and space-time arise from quantum information and gravity, even though he does not put forth a straightforward alternative model of time in isolation. The following are important aspects of Bousseau's theory of time and space-time. Holographic theory and the Bousseau boundary. Well, the covariant entropy bound, also known as the Bousseau bound, was developed by Bousseau and connects the geometry of space-time to the amount of information it can contain, which implies that space-time itself emerges from more basic informational degrees of freedom and connects space-time structure, including time, to quantum information theory. Quantum gravity and emergent spacetime. Well, his work investigates the possibility that spacetime, including time flow, may arise from quantum states characterized by quantum error correcting codes and holography, which suggests that rather than being basic, what we see as continuous space and time may really result from underlying quantum informational systems. Bousseau's research on the multiverse and string theory landscape offers a more comprehensive cosmological framework in which many vacua or universes might have distinct space-time characteristics, suggesting that time itself might exhibit various emergent characteristics or manifestations throughout the multiverse. In his talks and lectures, Bousseau highlights the importance of measurement, decoherence, and quantum information in comprehending the nature of reality and time. He suggests that time, as we see it, is entangled with quantum processes and information flow. The information paradox and holography, two of Bousseau's works on black holes, cast doubt on traditional ideas of time near singularities and event horizon and offer fresh approaches to balancing general relativity and quantum physics in situations where time may act drastically differently at fundamental scales. So, now you probably ask yourself, when is time going to end? The question of whether or when time will end is strongly related to the fate of the universe, and modern physics offers a variety of views, none of which are definitive. Crucial information about a possible end of time, the scenario of the Big Crunch. If the universe stops growing and begins compressing, it could collapse back into a very dense state similar to the Big Bang called the Big Crunch. This event would effectively halt time, since the singularity is a location where traditional ideas of time collapse. Current research indicates that the universe is expanding more quickly than ever before and will continue to do so indefinitely. In this case, time does not stop, but rather goes on forever, even while matter is growing increasingly cold and sparser, a phenomenon referred to as heat death. Entropy or chaos is associated with the direction of time and will eventually achieve equilibrium, which pretty much means not a good news for us. Time might be limited at singularities, which are locations where the established laws of physics cease to apply. The Big Bang is one of such limits at the beginning of time. Whether a similar border is present at the finish is still up for debate. According to certain scientists, there is a 50% chance that unknown cosmic catastrophes will stop time during the next 3.7 billion years, despite the fact that this is only theoretical and not really supported by empirical evidence. Importantly, from our point of view, such an event would be sudden and unpredictable. Determining the end of time is conceptually difficult, since the concept of an end necessitates time itself. Some philosophers argue that time cannot logically end, while physicists hope that a quantum theory of gravity might shed light on the issue in the future. Therefore, if the universe eventually collapses, time might stop. If the universe continues to expand, time will most likely never end, and given the evidence supporting eternal expansion, time probably won't stop any time soon. Discover magazine claims that it is theoretically possible to impede your progress in the future. The faster you travel through space, the slower time becomes. Therefore, you will move through time around 7 times more slowly than observers who are stationary if you hop aboard the rocket ship and accelerate to 99% of the speed of light. However, really reaching that speed is a whole different matter, but that's some other time. Is time slowing down for humans? However, there's a catch. You will never experience this time dilation yourself. Your heart will beat at the same rate. Your hairs will gray after the same amount of time, and your wristwatch will tick at the same speed as always, regardless of if it's a Vacheron Constantin or cheap Casio. However, if someone is watching in from the outside, they will see you move and live 7 times more slowly than you actually are. Although it might seem contradictory, the relative in the special theory of relativity is presented in this way. Our viewpoint determines how we perceive time and distance, and no two observers will ever agree. Relativity also allows you to, theoretically of course, leap ahead into the future. If you move fast enough, what might just be a few years to you could be hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years for everyone else. A recurring theme in science fiction films such as Interstellar and Planet of the Apes is that either the planet or its people might have undergone significant change by the time you return to Earth. However, time cannot be halted, since it is impossible to travel at the speed of light. Because you will always be traveling just a little bit below the ultimate speed limit, time will always pass. What we know about the end of time is that it will never end. Our universe appears to be expanding daily and will continue to do so indefinitely. The future is so entirely open, and there will always be another tomorrow. Time will not stop, even though in the far future everything in our universe will be reduced to unimaginably tiny dust. It appears, however, that time does have a beginning. Our universe's expansion suggests that it used to be smaller. It was much smaller a few billions of years ago. In the far distant past, some 13.77 billion years ago, our universe was the size of a peach and had a temperature of almost a quadrillion degrees. Beyond that, based on what we know about physics, the universe started in such a small region that it was a singularity, of a point of infinite density. And since our own history marks the beginning of space-time, time has a rigid end there as well. Additionally, they have identified the most probable moment for that to happen. Their argument is deceptively simple and shockingly compelling. It operates like this: if the universe is eternal, then everything that might possibly happen will happen, no matter how unlikely. In actuality, this occurrence will happen an infinite number of times, and this leads to a problem. With an infinite number of examples of every possible observation, it is hard to determine the probability that any of these events will take place. In such a scenario, the laws of physics simply do not apply. They just fall apart. This is known as the measure problem of perpetual inflation, according to Raphael Bousseau and his colleagues. So this problem can only be solved by speculating about a disaster that wipes out the universe. Then all the probability makes sense again, and the laws of physics regain their force. What time is it? Bousseau and team have crunched the data. They estimate that while there is a 50% chance that time might stop within the next 3.7 billion years, it is unlikely to happen while we are alive. It's not very lengthy. According to this, the end of time is most likely to happen while the Earth and Sun are still alive. Bousseau and his associates do have some positive news, though. They claim that we won't see it coming, yet they have no idea what kind of a catastrophe will trigger the end of the world. And also, apparently, we won't see it. I don't know how I know that. Don't ask me. In other words, we will address this catastrophe directly before we can observe its impact on other areas. There is something unsettling about the approaching end of time. It depends, among other things, on a basic assumption about the laws of physics, that we should be able to understand them rather than just notice that they exist. And as a conclusion, I have to say the best gift we can give to ourselves when it comes to time management is walk your own time path. It's not Vasher and Konstantin or my seamlessly indestructible G-Shock that will save you from the passage of time. All of them will eventually succumb to the principles of entropy. Who or what is going to tell us what time it is then? Nobody knows. Oh, I forgot. It won't matter anymore if it's true that time will end. And for the end, I have to say, time is doing wonders. We all change, for better or worse, sometimes delusional, mostly armed with a heavy load of life experiences. It could be a deep, profound thing like your company selection, or something totally banal like our fashion choices. The main thing is knowing your path, your timeline, and how to walk on it. Personally, I never like wearing shoes too much, and these days is literally nothing but different runners. No, I'm not talking Chucks. Why the heck would I have to torture myself? We're pretty smart chimps who only recently learned how to walk on 2 feet. Never mind if now, suddenly, the smart primate prefers Sperry's or Mephistos. Slightly off topic, but a good friend of mine is a martial artist and a medical doctor specializing in orthopedics, and he said not only people with feet or spine issues should wear gel, air, or other contemporary technology sports shoe support, but everyone should have a pricey, mega comfortable pair of runners, because we don't have much time on our personal timeline to walk in someone else's shoes all the time, especially not the uncomfortable ones. So, evolution and walking on 2 feet is metaphorically killing us, but time will do it for real eventually. So, how many steps in time do you still want to wear your slippery, sweaty Walmart loafers or post your killing overpriced English leather? My point is, no matter how ridiculous the societal expectations are, it is someone else's timeline, and you shouldn't obey to it, especially today, with all those decadent choices we feel entitled to. Not only that people want to know you, but they want to modify you according to their time they spend in their own lifetime, on their own timeline, and their own expectations, and the time they spend in their own universe. So I can I can give you one advice when it comes to what people call a well-used time. You're not the only one. We all have excuses for not living our dreams, for not putting pedal to the metal when it comes to our naturally aspirated full potential. You still feel disadvantaged? Well, you think someone else is taking your time away, and at the same time, you're perfectly aware that time, just like money, is something you cannot take with you on so-called other world. So while still here and now, we better walk our own timeline or timelines, and it better be a comfortable walk. So instead of conclusion, don't waste your time. Is your path unbearable? Does it give you a hard time? Well, you know what? Weaponize your misery, then monetize it, then move forward. Don't walk other people's timeline. Don't cross their path either. Don't waste your precious time under the sun. Time waits for no one. Stay selective. Bye-bye.